Hello friends, I'm Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I hope that wherever you are in the world, things are great for you. Please tell me how your day is going in the comments below. So, last night at game night, I was approached by a friend who said, on Tuesday's video, I had mentioned a story about being broke down in DC. If you haven't seen Tuesday, click here. You can watch that video. And I'm positive that I told this story at some point in the past year on this show. But he went looking for it, I went looking for it, and I can't find the story anywhere. So for the sake of preservation, I'm going to retell the story here today and make the title something searchable so that I can reference people to this story in the future. Because I like this story. I've told it dozens of times in real life. If you can figure out what episode I told this story on previously, I'll give you a prize or something for the first person to find it. So, about 4 years ago, I was headed to Washington, D.C. to hang out with a bunch of game designers. We were spending a weekend together at a friend's condo, just playing each other's games and really crunch time trying to get stuff ready for showing publishers. Now, Washington, D.C. is about 300 miles from here. And my motorcycle gets about 160-ish miles per tank. So I figured I'd fill up at the halfway point and then fill up again once I got to DC. And I'd be fine. So I stopped in Fredericksburg, I believe, Maryland, and filled up and then headed on into DC. What I hadn't anticipated, I think this was on a Friday, was just the traffic that is complete ridiculousness once you get in Baltimore and between Baltimore and DC. Traffic was outrageous. Oh gosh, sorry for your ears. Traffic was outrageous. I believe it was like a 4 or 5 or 6 lane highway at that point, and just bumper to bumper, we're barely moving, and I'm basically running out of gas quickly. And I'm thinking, if I have to sit here much longer, I might not make it into DC, right? So at that time, I had a phone mount using my phone's GPS. So I'm trying to use that between the stop and go traffic, but I'm traveling east and the sun's behind me, so the reflection and the glare on the phone, I couldn't see the screen. So I'm pretty much screwed at this point, and I figured I have no clue where I'm headed. Never been to this guy's place before. I just have to get off and figure it out. So I was able to get over and find an exit called George Washington Parkway. And I thought, well, that sounds Washington, D.C.-ish. I'll go that way. So I end up on this parkway, thinking there's got to be gas on this parkway. No, there's not. This parkway is literally a parkway. Like, you're driving through a park. There's no place to stop. There's pull-offs that are like scenic overlooks or dog walking parks, but it's just a park that you're driving through. So I traveled on this thing for a while. Realized I'm heading farther away from DC because I ended up back in Virginia. I'm like, okay, I've gone past DC at this point, so I find a place to pull off, get under the shade, find my bearings on the GPS, figure out how I need to get to my friend's house, which essentially involved going back up the parkway and then getting on, I don't know what interstate, like I-95, I think. I don't know if that's correct. It's an interstate that runs like right through downtown. And I'm looking for gas, and I can't find any near me. So I'm like, well, I just got to make it to his house and figure out what to do from there. So I head back up, get on this interstate, and start heading. And sure enough, I run out of gas. Now, this is like a 12-lane highway, like this super wide highway. And I have to pull off. And where I have to pull off is like one of those 40-foot or 60-foot high walls. So I pull off, I get up against this wall. And I'm not even kidding you. Before I can get off the motorcycle, as I'm getting off the motorcycle, I realize that 2 black SUVs have like squealed tires to park behind me, and guys in suits are getting out. And it's straight up like something out of the movies. Guys in suits with the little curly earpieces come rushing up like, what are you doing? Why are you stopped? And I'm like, I ran out of gas. That's it. Okay, well, we're going to have the dogs, check you out. Do you have any weapons? Do you have any firearms or explosives or what? I'm like, no. So they bring these drug dogs out or explosive dogs out, and they sniff this whole thing down. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm in awe, right? Because this was like Instantaneous. Like, as if they were looking for bikers coming through DC, right? So they're like, okay, well, we're going to send somebody to sit with you. I'm like, well, okay. So eventually this motorcycle cop shows up. The Secret Service guys pull off. Motorcycle cop shows up. And, we chat for a while. And he tries to get somebody from DDOT, which I guess is their Department of Transportation, to come bring me gas. Here in West Virginia, going back to the Tuesday story, here in West Virginia we have what's called the Courtesy Patrol, and they basically travel around the interstates looking for people who are stranded or need assistance, provide gas, whatever. I guess they don't have anything like that in Washington, D.C. So this guy's trying to get somebody from their city or whatever, somebody to bring me a gallon of gas. Like, I needed a pint of gas, but whatever. So while we're sitting there, I figure out I needed to make it like an eighth of a mile to the next exit and then turn right, and I was essentially at my friend's place. But I couldn't because of this wall. So motorcycle cop's like, all right, well, what's going to happen is we're going to get somebody here, and you're going to have to get out of here quickly. And I'm like, okay, but he wouldn't tell me why. And so while we're sitting there, I realized that like the police presence around us is growing. We were like right next to an overpass, and cops started positioning themselves on this overpass. Across the interstate from us was a off-ramp, on-ramp, and there's cops at the top of that. There's cops back behind us and I'm like, I'm just a guy on a motorcycle from West Virginia, you know what I mean? Like, and so eventually he's like, all right, I'm going to level with you. What's going to happen is the president's coming through. He's going to the Marine Corps barracks at 8th and I, and he has to come through here to get off. And so when that happens, I'm going to need you to get up against this wall and don't make any sudden movements. And I'm like, okay. So this is like an hour later. We've been stuck here. Nobody's bringing us gas. We're stuck here. And he eventually gives like, okay, it's time. And so I get up against the wall. The interstate is completely shut down by this point. Cops on bridges, cops over here, cops there, cops everywhere. I'm up against this wall, trying not to make any sudden moves. And here comes the motorcade. And it's like ambulances and SUVs with guys with their AR-15s or M16s or whatever they are, hanging out the back of these SUVs. They all come flying by, I don't know, 90 miles an hour. Ambulances following them, more SUVs. Then the two presidential SUVs, because our president travels in one car and a body double travels in the other. So we don't know which car he's in. If we try to attack him, we wouldn't know if we got the right car or whatever. Presidential SUVs go flying by, more SUVs, cops. I mean, just like this huge motor, blazing past me as I stand on the side of this interstate. And after that's all done, the motorcycle cop's like, okay, I gotta go. Somebody will be by eventually. So motorcycle cop leaves me. And now I'm stuck on the side of the interstate in a weird city. It's not like I can just walk off the side of the interstate because of this wall. And I just wait. And at least an hour goes by, maybe more. I want to say it was more like an hour and a half, but I'm not positive. It was at least an hour, and nobody ever shows up with gas. And in that hour, 0 people stop and offer assistance. Not a single person, as I just stand there on the side of the road. Thousands of cars go by. Nobody stops to say hi or give me any kind of assistance. So eventually I'm fed up and I just decided to leave my bike and go. So I rolled my bike underneath the underpass where it was lit, at least, so it wouldn't just get slammed into because it was getting dark. And I just start walking. And I walk like 100 yards and there's a van pulled off the side of the road. Dude's rummaging in the back, looking for something. He eventually comes out with a jug, and I'm like, what's up? And he's like, I'm out of gas. I'm like, me too. I'm going to go get gas, right? So I just keep walking. Well, eventually he comes running up, like, hey, hey, hey. And so I turn around, and so here he comes running up. And he's about my age, a black guy. And I'm not saying that because I feel the need to tell you that he was a black guy. I'm saying that because this is an important point coming up in the very near future. So I think his name was David. We're going to call him David if it wasn't. I'm pretty sure his name was David. David's like, you can't just keep walking because there was tunnels. We're about to go into these tunnels. He's like, you cannot walk through those tunnels. There's no sidewalk or anything. You'll get killed. I'm like, all right, so you're from here? He's like, kinda. I know the area. I'm like, all right. So we jump this. At this point, the wall thing has gone down, so we jump this little fence and go over this hill. Now we're in like gated communities looking for gas, right? Wandering around. So white dude in a motorcycle get up with, you know, my vest on and everything. Tall black guy with a what looked like a jug at this point, walking around in gated neighborhoods. Yeah, we were a pair. So we walk and we come out of this gated neighborhood, and he's like, "Oh, I know where we're at." And I'm like, "Okay, where are we?" And he said, "Well, this is the ghetto." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Is there gas in the ghetto?" He said, "I think so, up around the corner." Great. So we walk up, we go around the corner. There's no gas. He's like, "Man, I thought it was here." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "You know, I've tried to find gas on my phone. I'm not sure." He's like, "I don't know." About that time, we walk up another block. I see a 7-Eleven. So we walk down there. 7-Eleven, just a store, no gas, of course. And there's all these guys standing out front, drinking, or I don't know what they're doing. But whatever people do in front of 7-Elevens. And there's 2 cop cars sitting there. And so I just start walking up to the cop car. And David's like, what are you doing? I'm like, "I'm going to go talk to the cops." He's like, "Nah, man. We don't talk to the cops." And I'm like, "Okay, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to go talk to the cops." So I walk up to the cop, and he rolls his window down, and I'm like, "Sir, me and my friend David here ran out of gas in nearly the identical spot on the interstate back there. We're trying to find gas. Is there gas anywhere around here?" And the cop kind of looks at me and doesn't say a word for like a minute. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, he just kind of looked at me, and he's like, "No, there's no gas." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "But I'll take you to get gas if you like, just get in." And I'm like, "Okay." So I look back, and David's just like, "Mm-mm." Right? Like, you can expect, you know, like, an inner city black guy is not getting in the back of a cop car. And the cop's like, "It's okay. This isn't a cage car. You don't have to feel weird about getting in the back." And he's like, "Okay." So we get in the car, and it turns out, you know, the cop was amazing. A really cool guy. Took us, you know, what I didn't know is there's like 2 gas stations in DC, and they're both on the north end. We were on the south end. So we had to go like clear across Washington, D.C. to get to gas, which, like, the cop took us through his neighborhood. He's like, "Yeah, there's my house and, you know, my dogs." And we're like, "Okay." And David was super cool. He was starting his own construction company, or he was like a handyman kind of guy. Turned out he was really amazing. We ended up at like the stereotypical inner city gas station with a Middle Eastern man, and, you know, just a little window to slide cash in. There's no way we can get a gas can. He wasn't understanding what we were trying to say. The cop had to be like, "Dude, open the door up so we can get a gas can and buy some gas." And so he was like, "I can't do it." And the cop's like, "Dude, open it." So it ended up working out okay. You know, thanks to this particular police officer, it worked out fine. But man, it was just so frustratingly awesome. It was actually, you know, turned out to be a really good adventure. I had a lot of fun on the whole adventure, besides the sitting on the side of the road and being ignored for 2 hours. The rest of the adventure was really fun. I ended up at my friend's house and I had an amazing weekend. Oh, the other part of the story is the cop guy. I feel so bad. I think his name was Nick. If I remember these names correctly, I'm pretty sure his name was Nick. And he was like, "I shouldn't be doing this. I got to get you guys back before, you know, somebody calls me and wants to know what I'm doing." And we're like, "That's fine, dude." So he gets his back, and I'm not kidding you. I get to my bike, and we're literally like 50, 100 yards apart. He drives David up. So he's sitting here. There was an on-ramp the whole time. I didn't realize there was an on-ramp right there. So I'm filling my bike up. There's cars coming. This dude comes flying down an on-ramp and just slams into some guy. And so, of course, Nick's standing there, like, turns his lights on. I felt so bad for the guy because he was totally not where he was supposed to be. Way out of place, you know, helping 2 guys he should not have been helping. And then he was first on the scene to an accident that he had to report. And I don't know if he got in trouble. I doubt it. He did the right thing by helping us, but damn, that was an adventure. And, yeah, so that's the DC story. Again, if you can find where I told this story previously, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll send you something. I don't know what. Maybe it'll be a postcard, because, you know, I'm trying to build a postcard collection. I'm going to build a mural on the shed wall. You send me a postcard, I'll send you one back from your state or your country or, you know, someplace you would like to go. Leave me a little note on the back and we'll hang it on the wall. So thank you guys for being here as always. Thank you for listening to my silly story, and I will see you again tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from goldenblossomhoney.com. How many bees does it take to make a tablespoon of honey? A hive of bees must fly 55,000 miles to produce a pound of honey. One bee colony can produce 60 to 100 pounds of honey per year. An average worker bee makes only about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. So, teaspoon is what, 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon? Is that correct? So, 36 bees can make a tablespoon of honey?